Celebrity actress Nichelle Nichols finally talked about the racism and other problems she faced behind the scenes before she died. She was best known for her role as Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. She finally told the truth about a part of Star Trek that no one knew about after keeping quiet for years. Come with us as we try to figure out what happened on the Star Trek set, what people don't say about the struggles that led to Star Trek. Star Trek was a new kind of science fiction when it first came out in 1966. It showed a world where people from different backgrounds got along and worked together. Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura, was one of the most important people in this broad group. People knew her for being cool, capable, and dignified when she was in her red uniform and sitting at the communications station. It was important that Nichols played a figure on a spaceship, but it was also a turning point in the history of American television. During a time when black women were often portrayed in ways that reinforced negative ideas, Nichols played a part that went against those ideas. The role she played, Uhura, was not a maid, servant, or small one. She was instead an important part of the team. This event changed the course of history. Nichelle Nichols was one of the first black women on a famous TV show whose role wasn't just based on her race or social class. Many watchers, especially young black girls, saw Uhura as someone who could be successful. She showed that it was possible for people who looked like them to do important and great things. Nichols talked more about her time on the set as she got older. She talked about her experiences in an open way. Fans had been telling each other for years that she had to deal with problems and bad treatment behind the scenes. Many of these stories were true, which helped people understand Nichols's problems better and the strength she needed to keep going. Not only was her role as Uhura a step forward for representation, it was also a test for her personally. There were many ways in which it was new, and its effects were felt beyond the TV screen. Girls her age like Whoopi Goldberg looked up to her. Goldberg said that seeing Uhura made her understand that there should be black people in space. She went on to become the first black woman to travel to space, and Mae Jemison later said that Nichols had inspired her. These were important events that showed how one image could change goals, open doors, and have an effect on lives. It proved hard for Nichols. She sometimes felt overlooked and left out. In promotional pictures, she wasn't always in them, and her lines were often cut short or restricted. Even though her character deserved a bigger part, scripts often only gave her a few words. It looked like some directors wanted her to be a bit of an understudy on TV. Let's look at where this all started before we go any further. And worked in a factory. He was also the mayor and top judge of Robbins. Her mom, Lichelle Nichols, took care of the house. Nichols didn't like her real name, so she asked her parents to give her a new one. They suggested Nichelle and said it meant victorious maiden. In the end, the family moved to an apartment in Chicago's Woodlawn neighborhood. Nichols finished high school at Inglewood in 1951. The Chicago Ballet Academy gave her her first dance lessons when she was 12 years old. It was in Chicago that Nichols got her start as a professional singer and dancer. She played with well-known bands like Duke Ellington and Lionel Hampton as she went around the United States and Canada. In the movie Porgy and Bess, which came out in 1959, she was the lead dancer. Hugh Hefner became interested in her playing after she was in Oscar Brown's show Kicks and Company, which didn't do very well but caught his attention. She was so good that Hefner hired her to sing at his Chicago Playboy Club. Nichols' work grew when she did roles in more than one show, like Carmen Jones in Chicago and Porgy and Bess in New York. On the side, she did some modeling. Nichols was on the cover of Ebony magazine in January 1967. During the next 5 years, she was also in 2 more pieces. She kept going on tour with Ellington's and Hampton's bands. The Roar of the Grease Paint and For My People were on the West Coast. People liked how she played Mrs. Charlie in James Baldwin's Blues for Mr. Charlie. Nichols made a guest appearance on Gene Roddenberry's first show, The Lieutenant, in an episode about racism before she became famous as Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. Why did Nichols want to leave Star Trek so badly? What problems did she have to deal with that she couldn't handle? The choice that made Nichelle Nichols' life different. Lieutenant Uhura was played by Nichelle Nichols on Star Trek, and she made a big impression right away. Her name wasn't made up for a sci-fi show. She stood for growth, power, and possibility. Being one of the first black women on American TV to play a non-stereotypical part made her stand out in the Starship Enterprise team, which was full of different kinds of people. Her outfit made her look classy, and she did her work perfectly, showing that she wasn't just on the bridge team but also a part of the future. Things weren't always going well behind closed doors. Nichols later admitted that she felt let down and angry at times. She thought that her part was not always taken into account. Some of her lines were cut, and the character became less important. Even though her job was very important, she felt like her efforts were not being recognized. She chose to leave the show when things were really tough. Nichols loved being on stage and acting. Her dream job had always been to be an actor on Broadway. She was also given the chance to go back to theater after the first season of Star Trek was over. She thought now might be a good time to change things. She quit when she went to see Gene Roddenberry, who made the show. He listened to what she said and didn't try to change her mind. Instead, he told her to think about her choice over the weekend. He promised to back her choice if she still felt the same way on Monday. Nichols' life changed a lot because of that weekend. At an NAACP dinner, she learned that a fan wanted to meet her. She thought it might be a Star Trek fan, so she was shocked when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. came up to her at the event. He gave her a warm welcome and showed respect. He talked about how important her part was, not just for fun, but also for how it showed Black Americans. Nichols did not say anything as he talked about how her being on the show helped kids, families, and fans who hoped for a better future. He told her that her part on Star Trek was important because it could open doors and change people's minds, like a protest or a speech. Nichols couldn't leave after hearing those words. On Monday morning she went back to Roddenberry's office. Roddenberry got upset when she told him what Dr. King had said. He had always liked having a varied group and had pushed for Nichols to be a part of it. He supported her when she spoke out about being left out, and he let her have a say in how she was portrayed. His support gave her room to grow. Now that Dr. King had given her hope, she had the strength to stay. Roddenberry saw the world in a very clear way. He dreamed of a time when race, gender, or background wouldn't stop anyone from being successful. Nichols showed that this dream could come true. It wasn't supposed for her character to stand out because she was different. She was there because she was very good at her job. It was said that she was smart, skilled, and well-liked. Roddenberry made this very clear right from the start, and made sure she played a big part on the show. By staying on Star Trek, Nichols made history very important. Others were inspired by her decisions, like Whoopi Goldberg, who was moved by seeing Uhura on TV as a child. Goldberg had never seen a picture of a black woman look like that before. This made her want to join Star Trek: The Next Generation as Guinan, a character that was made just for her. Mae Jemison. Nichols helped Jill Scott, the first black woman in space, believe in her dream. When things got hard, Nichols didn't quit Star Trek. She stayed because she knew it was important. She made the choice to stay, face difficulties, and be an example for others. Roddenberry helped her see that her job on the bridge was more than just a job, and Dr. King advised her on this. It helped make the future what it would be. Nichols still had to deal with more problems, though. There were other problems with her that hurt both her job and her reputation. The kiss between people of different races. In 1968, something important happened on TV that changed the way Americans thought about courage, love, and race. This happened in Star Trek's Plato's Stepchildren episode. Even though the scene was short, it had a big impact on me. William Shatner, who played Captain James T. Kirk, kissed Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura in this episode. This kiss was groundbreaking because it was one of the first race kisses ever shown on American TV. There was a lot of anxiety, pushback, and bravery before the historic moment. NBC, which was showing Star Trek, was worried about how people would react. At that time, racism was very bad in the United States, and seeing a black woman and a white man kiss on TV at a famous time was too much for some. The network was worried about what might happen, so they asked the group to reshoot the scene without the kiss. Still, Nichols and Shatner wouldn't give up. Nichols said Shatner screwed up the different takes on purpose. Making funny looks or looking in the wrong direction was on purpose, meant to mess up the scenes. His goal was to make sure that the version with the kiss was the only one that could be used. In the end, NBC had to show the first scene, which was the one with Kirk and Uhura kissing. People were talking about the show when it first aired on November 22, 1968, but not the bad response the network was hoping for. A lot of people really liked the scene. A lot of nice letters were sent to the network. Fans were excited to watch something new and risky on TV. They thought they had seen something amazing. Some people were upset, but most people saw the kiss as a step forward, making their views less important. Nichols later talked about the feedback she got, pointing out a letter from a white man in the South who said he didn't like relationships between people of different races. No matter what he believed, he couldn't ignore how the scene made him feel. His words, which were based on old ideas, showed how strong that moment was. Even though it was only a small change, it was clear that something had changed. The kiss wasn't like most kisses between lovers. In the story, aliens stole the characters' minds and made them kiss. But the kiss really did have an effect. It showed two people of different races having a private moment together on TV without feeling bad or scared. This short scene helped break down the wall that existed between black and white people in the media. People saw it and got the message that the world was getting better, even if they weren't ready for it. She thought the kiss was important, and not just something that was put into the plot. It was a big deal for her in both her personal and work life. Nichols had already broken down barriers by being one of the first black women to have a major part on TV that wasn't a maid or helper. Uhura, her role, was shown to be smart, well-liked, and important to the team. The kiss added to her memory by showing that race or skin color shouldn't get in the way of love, respect, or relationship. Not only in the history of television, but also in the history of American society. This time has been seen as important over the years. Young people who watched this were moved by it because they saw a future where people of different races could be treated equally. In front of them, two famous people bravely made something important. In spite of fear and pressure, Nichols made fun of the kiss in public, but she always remembered how important it was. In just a few seconds on screen, she saw that they had made progress. They didn't push it or make a lot of noise about it. There was no trouble for them as they went through it. What made it powerful was that, Beyond the Starship by Nichelle Nichols. Even though Star Trek ended in 1969, Nichelle Nichols' connection to the show stayed strong. She stayed connected to the series by playing Lieutenant Uhura in different roles. Nichols did voice work for the cartoon show. In an episode called The Lorelei Signal, Uhura was a big part of the story, and Nichols even took care of the Enterprise. Nichols would always remember this moment, because she had hoped for a similar chance in the first season, but it never came up. As time went on, Nichols stayed involved with Star Trek, even after the cartoon show ended. In 6 movies, she played the part of Uhura every time. Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country was her last movie in the series, and it gave fans a chance to see her as the famous communications officer again. Nichols wrote a book called Beyond Uhura, Star Trek and Other Memories, which came out in 1994. She talked about what she had done in her work and on the show. She said that she was offered a part on the TV show Mannix during the last season of Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry wouldn't let her get out of the deal though. Even though she missed that chance, she kept working in the entertainment business in different roles between the first show and its later versions. Nichols had smaller parts in some movies during that time. In the 1967 movie Doctor, You've Gotta Be Kidding, she played a secretary. Then in the 1974 movie Truck Turner with Isaac Hayes, she played a tough old lady. This was her only movie in the blaxploitation genre, but it showed how flexible she was and how willing she was to play different roles. She has worked on many animation projects over the years thanks to her voice acting skills. One of the roles she played on Futurama was a member of a funny group called the Vice Presidential Action Rangers. In another episode, she did the speech for her character's head, which was kept in a jar. This added to the show's funny take on well-known historical people. Besides that, she brought the character Diane Mazza to life, whom does Elisa Mazza's mother play in the animated show Gargoyles. Nichols played a character called Thoth Kopira in the animated show Batman, which shows how versatile she is as a voice actor. In 2004, Nichols was on The Simpsons as herself in an episode called Simple Simpson. She also did voice work for cartoon TV shows. That was before she played the mom of Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character in the movie Snow Dogs. These jobs kept her in the public eye and showed that she was still popular with fans of all ages. Nichelle Nichols played the owner of a legal Nevada brothel in the independent film Lady Magdalene's, which came out in 2006. Not only did she play a part in the movie, but she also produced it and planned the dances. Also, Nichols sang 3 songs in the movie. 2 of them she wrote, showing how talented she is in many areas. Nichols really stood out on stage. At the Sarah Siddons Awards in Chicago, she was nominated twice for Best Actress. Her efforts in Kicks and Company and The Blacks were standouts that showed how good she is at live theater. Nichols went back to TV and became a regular on the NBC show Heroes. She played the part of Nana Dawson, a tough mom who took care of her family. After Hurricane Katrina, she was able to explore the depths of real-life problems and emotions through this role, which was different from any other she had played before. While she was getting older, she kept working. She played a therapist in the 2008 movie The Torturer. In 2009, she played the singing and dancing boss of a company in the musical sci-fi comedy The Cabinets. Nichols was still full of energy and new ideas even though she was nearing the end of her career. In 2016, she played the mother of one of the main characters on the TV show The Young and the Restless. She was nominated for a Daytime Emmy Award as an excellent guest actor in a drama series for her work on the show. This was the high point of her successful career. But how did Nichols get along with her co-stars? Did they accept her completely? While she was on the set of Star Trek, Nichelle Nichols saw her time there as more than just playing. It was about making relationships that would have an impact on her life and last a long time. She worked with a diverse group of people in a show that broke new ground as Lieutenant Uhura. The relationships she made off-camera were not always easy or smooth, but they were always important. There were a lot of problems between Nichols and William Shatner, who played Captain James T. Kirk. They worked together a lot, and had important scenes together, like the famous kiss between 2 people of different races. But their friendship off-screen was hard. Things got better over time, but there were still times when people didn't understand each other. Nichols finally said that they felt better about each other and made up. Over time, both stars came to value what the other brought to the show and to the past of TV. This is not true. Nichols had a good relationship with Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock. They were very close and stayed that way. Nimoy was kind and polite, and he made Nichols feel like he was an important part of the team. He treated her equally and with respect all the time. Nichols really appreciated his support, especially when things got hard for her because she was one of the few black women in a major TV part. When she was with him, she felt at ease and noticed, which made her more confident in her job. The time Nichols spent on set with George Takei, who played Sulu, was good. He was polite and kind, and he made everyone on stage happy and laughing. After they all went on to work on different projects, their friendship stayed strong. Nichelle Nichols liked and trusted DeForest Kelley, who was famous for playing Dr. McCoy. She liked how kind he was, and how he was fair and respectful to everyone. Even though things could get heated on the busy set of the show, Kelley always kept her cool. His kindness never changed, and he was always in a good mood throughout the whole series. Nichols' time on Star Trek was affected by these ties. She didn't get along with all of her co-stars, but she did become friends with some of them. Some relationships grew over time, while others gave comfort and support right away. However, what else did Nichols say about her time on Star Trek? A star off the screen, Nichelle Nichols has done more than just play a Star Trek character. At the end of her life, she thought about what she had done, what she had struggled with, and how she had blessed others. Her words made me feel better, her smile showed that she was strong, and just being around her reminded me of how to break rules in a classy way. Quite often, she talked about how grateful she was to be on Star Trek. She had some doubts at first, and ran into a lot of problems, but she didn't feel bad about her time on the show when she thought about it now. Although she played Lieutenant Uhura on TV, she knew that her role had a big effect on society as a whole. She thought her part was important, and was happy to have been a part of something that gave people hope and pushed them to make changes. Nichols' work on Uhura was just the beginning. She turned her attention to real space travel after the TV show finished. She loved the stars in more ways than one. She wanted everyone to have a say in how the future would be. Together with NASA, she worked on a project to make the space program more diverse. Through her guidance and advocacy, she made goals possible that no one else thought were possible. The program was more successful than anyone thought it would be. Dr. Sally Ride and Colonel Gulshan Bluford are two bright people who became part of NASA's history because of Nichols' work. Others like Judith Resnick, Ronald McNair, Charles Bolden, Frederick Gregory, and Lori Garver did similar things and made important contributions to space travel. Nichols was very helpful to them on their trips, which she thought was one of her biggest accomplishments. Not only did Nichols inspire others, she also kept doing things that had to do with space. She was on boards, supported projects, and kept giving money to science and travel. In 2015, she even went on a special NASA trip that let her see Mars and Saturn from very high above Earth. This was another example of how she was connected to the stars in her personal life and as an actress. When she went out in public in her later years, she was very friendly. She was happy and kind as always. When she said hello to her fans, she spoke only positive things. People should keep going, make everyone feel welcome, and believe in what they could do. She sent a clear and powerful message: don't give up on your dreams or your goals. As Nichols, she showed off her musical skills by singing in several Star Trek shows, showing off her beautiful voice and skill. After that, she put out 2 CDs of music. One had old songs on it, and the other was more modern and focused on space and science. These records showed off her many skills and showed that she wasn't just an actor. Nichols' last thoughts were about getting along and moving on. While she agreed that her trip had been hard at times, she chose to focus on the good things. It was hard to deal with the problems, but the achievements were real. As she made progress, she helped others. It was because of her that people's views changed. They became more open, and she helped shape what will happen next. The documentary Woman in Motion does a beautiful job of telling the story of a woman who changed the way people explore space, think about their own lives, and reflect. In her book, Nichelle Nichols wrote that she dated Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek, in the 1990s. They were together for a while, but broke up before the show began. Nichols learned that Roddenberry was seeing another woman named Majel Hudick. Majel Hudick changed her name to Majel Barrett and married Roddenberry. When Nichols found out this, he chose to end the connection. Barrett went on to play Christine Chappell, a nurse on Star Trek. Following many years, when Gene Roddenberry was not feeling well, Nichols planned a unique event to remember him. A song called Gene was written with her help, which she sang at the service for his death. That was a very emotional and meaningful way to say goodbye to someone who meant a lot to her. Nichols talked more about her past, and said that she had a short but heated relationship with singer Sammy Davis Jr. in 1959. She said it was a short, intense, and exciting relationship that made an impact on her that would last, even though it didn't last long. For the first time, she was married to a dancer named Foster Johnson. They got married in 1951. In that same year, a boy named Kyle Johnson was born. They were married for a short time and split up in 1951. After getting married to Duke Mondi in 1968, she was with him for 4 years before they split up in 1972. A lot of sad things happened in her personal life. Thomas, her brother, was a member of the Heaven's Gate group and died in 1997 when they all died together. The cult timed the death to happen at the same time as Comet Hale-Bopp's departure. Thomas had been a member of the group for about 20 years, and they wrote that he was connected to Nichelle. Nichols had both good and bad times in her life, but she also had some happy and exciting times. This one took place on February 29, 2012, when she met President Barack Obama at the White House. Later, she said that the president had told her that he liked her when he was younger. When she asked him about it, he admitted it right away. He also told her that he loved Star Trek, which made the meeting even more special for her. How did Nichols' death go, and what problems did she have in her last years? Health and death. Nichelle Nichols had a small stroke at her Los Angeles home in June 2015. She was taken to a nearby hospital right away, and a scan showed that she had a small stroke. Then she started going to therapy to help her get better. Even though it wasn't a major stroke, it was the beginning of a tough time for her. It came out in early 2018 that she had dementia. Her friends were very sad about this. She decided to stop going to events and being in the public eye because of this. It was hard for her to make the choice because she had always been close to her friends. During the same time, someone close to her had legal problems. There were claims that her boss, who was also taking care of her, had too much power over her life. Because he didn't trust how things were being handled, her son Kyle Johnson filed for conservatorship in 2018 so that he could take care of her and make choices for her. Before the court agreed to his request in early 2019, Nichols' friend Angelique Fosta was worried about his health. It was hard for Fosta to visit Nichols, and he thought something was wrong. She was against the conservatorship so she could keep seeing her friend. At the same time, the former manager sued Nichols after being told to leave the guest house on his property. As of August 2021, this problem still hadn't been solved. Nichelle Nichols died of heart failure on July 30, 2022 in Silver City, New Mexico. She was 89 years old. As a tribute to her important work in science fiction and other fields, her ashes were sent into space with those of Mahal Barrett and Douglas Trumbull. The stars were the goal of her life and last journey.